Hello, my name is Drew Kakrika. For this lecture presentation, I will be talking about different closing strategies and different techniques, and so just a couple tips to keep in mind of going into a sale or going into closing a sale, and all that stuff, and how to actually complete the close, and a couple different examples of that and stuff. So we'll get into it. So today I'll be talking about the closing of a sale. There are many different techniques that you can use, but a few of the very popular ones that we haven't really discussed in class. I'll read them off a couple. There's the now or never close. There's the summary close, the sharp angle close, the question close, the assumptive close, and the soft close. For the now or never close, in this strategy, the salesperson makes an offer that includes a special, a special deal that prompts the immediate purchase by the prospecting client or customer. By doing this type of close, it kind of creates a sense of urgency for the customer, and it's like a buy now or you never get the deal, and customers always love the deal. So this is a very good strategy to use. An example of this would be, within a conversation, and you're talking to, or within a call, and you're talking to a client, and you tell them, hey, like, this is the last one at this price. And by saying this, the customer is obviously going to want this if they really like the price and if they really like the product. But before doing this, they must actually like the product and have much interest in it to do that. Another example is if you if a salesperson says to a customer, if you sign up today, you'll receive a 20% offer off 20% off your order, but this deal will be over by tomorrow. This forces the client to want to close the deal at the moment if they really want it, and even if they don't want it, they still might buy it because the deal is so good that they really can't pass it up. The second one is summary closing strategy. When using this technique, the salesperson repeats the prospecting client's or customer's hopeful order to emphasize the value and the benefits of the product. This really helps the customer visualize all the benefits from the product that they are receiving, and it kind of puts it into one package instead of it pieces it all together for them, instead of them having to go back and remember all the deals and all the add-ons and everything that's included with the product. So an example of this is if somebody's selling a speaker or something like that, and they could say, so we have the Sony 500 speaker system that includes Bluetooth and wired connection. It also includes 500 amps as opposed to the normal 300 amps. And on top of that, the speaker includes a stand within the package. The third closing strategy is the sharp angle closing strategy. And use this when a customer, asks for a deal on the product or something like that, because customers really love the deals. So sometimes they just come out straightforward and ask for it, or ask what you can do for them when giving them the product or selling them the product. So this is, you can't really use all the time. You can't go in planning to use it, but it can be very, very effective if it's used in the right situation. When using this, it gives them what they asked for, and you propose a close right after giving them what they asked for, and it creates a sense of urgency again, because the client is really caught off guard. You gave them exactly what they wanted, so how really could they say no to signing the deal today? An example of this is, customer saying, could you include the casing for the guitar as well? And salesperson comes back and responds, sure, but if I do that for you, would you be willing to purchase today? The fourth closing strategy that I'll be going over is the question closing strategy. The key to this strategy is to ask the prospect probing questions. So, these questions should give the salesperson more information about the customer's needs being fulfilled or not, and if they are, the only next step is to sign the contract. So an example of this could be, is there any reason why we can't proceed with the shipment and sign the contract today? If the prospecting client comes back and says yes, they won't just say yes, there is a reason why we can't proceed today. They'll also include a reason of why, and that's an objection, and that's easily handled by a salesperson who's ready for it. He can somehow fulfill the needs, or keep going with the sales pitch to hopefully make that into a let's sign the deal today from the customer. But if the customer says no and there's no reason that they're willing to get the shipment out today and sign the contract, then all there is left is actually sign the contract and get the deal done. Excuse me. The fifth closing strategy will be the assumptive closing strategy. Within this technique, from the first contact, the prospecting client really has to be 100% believe in themselves and bringing that confidence to the sales pitch and all that with the client. When using this strategy, the salesperson must read the prospecting client's interests and objections throughout the entire contact that they have, from the first email to the very last email of the sale, or the very last face-to-face contact of the sale being finished. Once a salesperson is very confident that they have the sales or the prospecting client where they want, they assume the deal will be made and talk accordingly. The thing with this statement, or with this closing strategy, is that the statement must be made at the right time. If you make it way too early, the client could really perceive the salesperson as being a little too pushy or a little too ready to just get the deal done and not helping them out, and even really caring for their needs. An example of this could really be, so when would you like this order delivered? They really make this statement with the assumption that the client's fully ready to make the deal and they have the client locked in to sign the contract and do all that. So like I said, it really needs to be made at the right moment, or it could go south for the salesperson. The last closing strategy that I'll be talking about today is the soft closing strategy. During the soft closing strategy, the salesperson presents a major benefit of the product followed by a low impact question. This gets the client on the hook by stating a benefit and not really asking any big demands or requests that would really throw the client, or the prospecting client off. And whatever. An example of this would be if a salesperson said, "If I told you I could reduce your cost by 10% and increase your productivity by 15%, would you be willing to sign a deal?" And from a statement like that, the client really can't turn that down. That's a really intriguing statement, and I mean, if you're a buyer, you would love to hear more about the product, and you would love to, you're going to say yes. And if the salesperson can really push the client into believing that, or into actually proving that they really can come through with their statements and reduce costs and increase productivity, they really have no reason to say no to you, and they'll end up buying. So those are the main strategies that we really haven't talked about that are very effective and very popular within the sales world as well. On top of all that, some tips that are really helpful within closing that should always be thought about by a salesperson, from not even within contact with the client, but just always everyday life of living that job and working it and whatever they're doing for that job. They should keep these in mind. The first and foremost should be that they should be very confident and earn the right to close. If you're confident that you're gonna make the sale, that really shows. And as you're selling the product, you're giving your pitch, the client can really tell that you're confident, and they can they have confidence. If you have confidence in your product, they'll have confidence in you. And not anybody's just gonna buy from you if you ask them to buy from you. You have to earn that right, and pitch that sale or make that pitch and get them to bite. Another one is begin with the end in mind. For this one, you want to always you want to start with the end in mind, is because that's where you want to head with with your pitch and everything you do within the contact with the client. All your goals and everything you do with that client should be leading to that one goal of that's closing that sale with the client. Third tip would be to always give and receive too as well. Customers, as I said before, they like having those deals, and that's always more of a reason for them to buy. But when you give, it's always good to receive too, because if you're giving, the customer is definitely going to be um, more inept to give back as well, instead of just ask for a deal and be done with it. So it's always good for that. Another tip would be to, when you're selling a product, sell the value of the product, because sometimes a main objection from customers and clients would be that a price. People aren't always happy with the price. If it's too high, they don't want to buy it. But if you sell the value and tell them that how much benefit and how much the product can fulfill their needs, a price won't matter to any customer. If they really value the product that much, the price won't mean anything to them, and they'll definitely be willing to buy. Another tip would also be to always be honest. If the second a customer finds out that you're lying to them or you're being BSing them, no matter what the product is, no matter how much they want it, they're really not going to buy from it, because you're not being honest with them. How are they going to trust that everything else is going to be honest as well? Another great tip that is not very thought of by a lot of people is that you should always be nice to your enemies, but use them in a way to make your product look better. So, like, it's never bad to ask a client if they're in talks with somebody else for the same product, like a competition. If they do say yes, then you say, yeah, that's good company and whatever, and move on. And then throughout your pitch, you can always throw in things that your product has that your competition's product lacks. And you're not hating on their product and you're not hating on them, but you're showing what your product has that theirs doesn't, to, kind of shift the client over to your way and use that as an advantage. Another tip that's very, very important is to always prepare and plan. If you go into a sales pitch and you don't know anything about the client, you don't know much about your product, you're not prepared whatsoever, you're not going to do well. And the very last one with closing is that sometimes talking less is more for you, is more for the salesperson. And when I say this, what I mean is a lot of times people will be closing a sale and they ask the customer if they would like to buy today. And instead of staying silent and letting the customer think about it and answer themselves, they continue to talk. And instead of furthering the customer to want to buy the product more, the more talking that you're doing is, could be pushing them away and all that. Like, you already told the customer everything about the product. If you're asking the customer to close and whatever, you told them the benefits that they need to hear. You told them everything that you need to say up to that point that fulfills their needs that you know of. So if you ask them to close it, you could talk yourself out of it by talking more. But if you stay silent, you could get a yes. And if you do get a no, they'll tell you what they're, they'll kind of give you a little insight on why they won't buy the product right at that moment. And when you hear that, their reason for why, you can continue your pitch, and instead of throwing your own sale out the window by talking more.